Hello and welcome to our 7-8 minutes of weekly Torah talk. Our guest today is Rabbi Rachel Barneblat, the Velveteen Rabbi, a poet, blogger, and Rabbi of Congregation Beth Israel in the Berkshires. Hello, Rabbi. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Our Parsha is Tzav, in which God gives instructions for the work of the Kohanim, the priests. The fire on the altar must be kept burning at all times. As for the sacrifices, the Kohanim eat the meat of the sin and guilt offerings and the reminder of the meal offering. The peace offering is eaten by the person who brought it, except for specified portions given to the Kohen. The holy meat must be eaten by pure persons in their designated holy place. Here's the first pasuk of the parsha. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, צו את אהרון ואת בניו לאמור, זאת תורת העולה היא העולה על מוקדה על המזבח כל הלילה עד הבוקר ואש המזבח תוקד בו. And the Lord spoke to Moses saying, command Aaron and his son saying, this is the law of the burnt offering. That is the burnt offering which burns on the altar all night until morning, and the fire of the altar shall burn with it. So the fire of the altar, what do we make of it today?
So there's a Hasidic interpretation, which I think comes from Shmuel Rosner of Liadi, that every aspect of the Mishkan is mirrored in the human soul. So he says the altar is the heart of the Jew. We might today say the altar is the heart of the human being, if we're feeling universalistic.
Right.
And so the fire that burns on the altar is the fire that burns in our hearts. Fire of devotion to God, fire of on which we can offer up our gratitude and also our sin offerings, the places where we miss the mark. So in that sense, maybe the Mishkan is something internal to us.
And can we find such parallel in the Mishkan to every component of a Mishkan? We can find a parallel to our days?
I'm sure that it can be done. It takes a little creativity, especially when you get to the washstand and the menorah and all of these pieces that we've been reading about in recent weeks. I will say that as a congregational rabbi, I know that when we come to the book of Vayikra, I can see in people's faces a kind of anxiety.
Right.
Like, boy, now we have weeks and weeks of sacrifices and blood and kidneys, and fire and offerings, things that are so foreign to us. So it's an interesting challenge to take a parsha like this one and make it speak to people. Some years ago, I engaged in a process of writing one poem each week,
right,
in conversation with the parsha. And the best of these poems were collected into a book. And with your permission, I'd like to share the one for this parsha.
Sure.
Which begins with a quote, a perpetual fire shall be kept burning on the altar not to go out. First you dress in linen, then scoop out the ashes. Stop and wash with water. Then you change your garments and scoop out the ashes. Lather, rinse, repeat. Then you change your garments. No one said it was easy. Lather, rinse, repeat. Out here in the wilderness, no one said it was easy to keep the fire burning. There's little wood to scavenge, and you want perpetual motion, all night until morning. That's the ritual of the offering. You want perpetual motion, but fires don't burn forever. And the ritual of the offering is this lesson from the waters. Fires don't burn forever, except for that holy pillar. So take a lesson from the waters and the reeds you sludged across. Remember that holy pillar like a beacon in the darkness, and the reeds you sludged across each shaky step toward freedom. Like a beacon in the darkness, God's instructions on this are clear. Each shaky step toward freedom keeps the fire burning. God's instructions on this are clear. Stop and wash with water. Keep the fire burning. First, you dress in linen.
This is wonderful, really.
Thank you. So it's a poetic form called a pantum, which makes use of repeated lines.
Okay.
You can hear the same lines come back over and over in different places in the poem, which was my way of working with this paksha where there is so much repetition. Right? First this kind of offering, then that kind of offering.
Right.
Okay, you burn it, you don't burn it. Wash your hands, take out the ashes, change your clothes, wash your hands. So to take that repetition and make it a plus rather than a minus.
Right. And at the end of this parsha, we have another ceremony that is sounds weird to the modern ear. And Moses took some of the anointing oil and some of the blood that was on the altar, and he sprinkled it on Aaron and on his garments and on his sons and on his sons' garments. And he sanctified Aaron, his garments, his sons, and his sons' garments with him. That's what the Torah says.
Mm-hmm. And then from there he goes on to take the blood of the offering and put it on Aaron and his sons.
Right.
So, I can tell you I'm glad that my rabbinic smicha was nothing like that at all.
Well, we can still schedule it for some later time.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a very peculiar ceremony.
It is.
To us, I think. To me, the interesting question comes up with the blood. Why he places it on the ear and on the hands, the thumbs, and on the feet. So why those three? Most of the commentaries I've studied suggest that this is meant to suggest that the priest should be listening in a holy way. The works of his hands should be holy, and the path of his feet should be holy. So maybe in today's era, when there are no longer priests, and we're called to be a mamlechet kohanim, a nation of priests,
Right.
Is this something that we all take on, to try to listen in a sacred way, to act in a sacred way, to walk? That's the root of the word halakha. Our way of walking
Right.
should be something that's holy. It's still a peculiar ceremony, though.
It is. Reading it feels kind of strange, and it's a one-time ceremony. It's only with Aaron and his sons that it was done in such way.
Mm-hmm. I think that's true. Well, and Moshe was only there to do it that one time. And in the era after Moshe, who knows, something different unfolded.
Right.
I did a little digging, and I saw that Rabbi Shefa Gold suggests that we can stretch this even further, that to say that we should be hearing in a holy way means to hear the cries of the oppressed. To be acting in a holy way means that we should be acting in ways that bring justice and beauty. And to be walking in a holy way means that we should walk on a path of pilgrimage, which I thought was interesting, since we no longer regard the Shalosh Hagalim, the three pilgrimage festivals, as an opportunity to actually walk anywhere.
Right.
It happens I'm coming to Jerusalem in a couple of weeks. Maybe that's my opportunity for my own kind of pilgrimage.
Well, I know some Israelis who make it a habit on each of the three regalim to go to Jerusalem.
Which is a beautiful idea. But for those of us who are far away, here I am in Massachusetts, so that's not an option.
Technically speaking, it becomes more complicated, of course.
Right.
Thank you, Rabbi, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for having me.